Hey friends, Powwow Phoenix here. I don't know, this video is going to be hard for me to make because it's going to ruffle some feathers, obviously. Um, but I just want to talk about my complex history with the Wicca religion, witches and such. People say I'm a witch hater and such with, and uh there's some truth to what they're saying, but that's not the full story. I guess I'll just get into uh all right, here we go. So back in the late 1980s, I had first heard about powwowing and well, first heard that powwowing was something that interested me, sparked my interest. I had heard about powwow prior to that, but I didn't really care. There was a local powwower and that was fine. I wasn't that interested till the late 1980s when I had heard that there was this ice storm in our town, and somebody said, "Oh, that's the Powwow up Catawissa." And Catawissa was a community sort of local to us, about 8 or 10 miles away. And I was intrigued and I wanted to know, how did the Powwow create this ice storm? And so I was fascinated by the idea of magic and such and I started looking for stuff, but there was no internet in those days. So access was very limited. What I was finding in the public libraries was nothing. Um, and it wasn't until a few years later in like a local Walden Books, if anybody remembers that store, that I found a book about yeah, witchcraft, Raymond Buckland's Complete Book of Witchcraft. Now, this is like 1990, 1991. I was intrigued and I thought, I don't understand anything he's talking about, but this might be for me. And so I was very much raised Catholic, so I really believed in the Virgin Mother. Um, as a matter of fact, at that age, I was told, like, don't pray to Jesus, don't pray to God. They're very busy. Pray to Mary. And so when I picked up these books about witchery and such with, they were all saying, well, Mary is just another face of the goddess and such with. And so I thought, well, maybe that's right. Maybe Mary is just another like a form of this like mother goddess. And so I really kind of bought into the whole idea. But it wasn't until like I don't know, maybe 1995, I was having a yard sale and I had this poster for sale that I was selling. It had all these sort of runes around it and such. And this car pulled up and this woman gets out of the car and I instantly knew she was a witch. I don't know how I knew. As soon as she got out of the car, I thought, this woman's a witch. And so I moved the poster. It was in a frame, but I moved it up front because I thought she's going to buy this. And she immediately came up to it. And I said, I have the translation taped to the back. I translated the runes from this like witchcraft book. And she's like, oh, that's very interesting. That you're reading a witchcraft book. And I said, well, I just read a book about powwowing, and it was written by a neo-pagan author. And she said, "Oh, I know her. I'm friends with her, and give me your phone number or whatever, and I can I can get you involved in that group so you can learn about this powwowing and such." And I was so enthralled by this. So within the next like couple of years, I had some conversations with this woman, and then by 1990, I guess 1998 is when I first had the internet. I was a I was being trained, as a quote unquote power by this witch, and I didn't know it was wrong. I didn't know at that time that that was wrong, but and then I get this phone call in 1998. Um, it was a like a conference call, and on the phone call is this woman that I had met at the art sale, and um, a quote unquote famous witch author. And they said, we would like you to become a part of this coven led by this lady in our group. And maybe you could see for us and spy for us why she can't keep students. And I didn't understand what that meant. I said, I just really want to learn about like all this stuff. I really just want to learn this stuff. And they said, okay, well, maybe you could just like check in with us and let us know why she can't keep students. So I thought that was odd, but and so I joined this like sort of coven within the overarching Black Forest clan, and the teacher was this pathetic mess. She was such a mess, and I tried so hard to like find some wisdom in what she was saying, and there was some nuggets of wisdom there. She was older than me. She was a professional woman, but she was terrible at like all this sort of magic stuff, and she didn't really know anything about powwow. And I don't know what to say. By 1999 or whatever, I was really, I was working through the lessons of this Black Forest Clan group, and I was working through the levels of elevation. I went from dedicant first degree to second degree. And at second degree, I thought I don't feel like I have anything to learn from this woman who's teaching me. I'd rather just like put myself into it, learn this stuff on my own, and maybe pass this on to other people. So I was the only person at second degree ever granted the by the clan head Silver Raven Wolf to start a coven of my own, and I called it the Coven of the Phoenix. Now back then, my last name was Whitley. That was my birth last name. But I had always had an interest in the Phoenix, that the idea of the Phoenix and such. So I started the Covenant of the Phoenix at second degree, and I had like 4 or 5 students right away. Um, and it was a lot of fun, but it was a little confusing because I had all this sort of conflicting spirituality. I was like, I'd been raised Christian, and then I'd been learning about all these gods and goddesses and such. And, I was taught in this group that Mary was not the mother of Christ. She was actually just a version of the goddess. And I believed it. I believed them. I thought these people knew more than me. Um, I was also learning astrology, which was very interesting. And there was this 13-week astrology course that they put together, and I literally got the highest grade in the entire class because I was so interested in it. And then it came time for me to become a third degree. I had to take the pre-third degree exam, and I got it's like a 6-hour test. I got this super high score. Um, I got my third degree elevation done right in Silver Raven Wolf's dining room, and I became a third degree. And then I thought, now what? Now what? They're like, oh, now you're a powwow, now you're a clergy, now you can do this and that. And I thought, I don't feel that at all. So I became disillusioned with the whole thing, and I separated myself from them. And a couple of years had gone by, and I had really thrown myself into the study of powwowing, and I was back in touch with Silver again, and she brought me back into the group. And I just wanted to do powwow. I didn't care about any of the witchcraft stuff. I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to be a powwow. So she named me the powwow guide of the Black Forest clan. Um, and so people were coming to me, and I'm like, well, here's powwow as Silver is teaching you. Silver is teaching you this like sort of Wiccanized version of powwow. Let me tell you about the actual history of powwow, the actual truth of it. So I was saying, it's Christian roots and such, and that really pissed people off. And so I started becoming like the bad guy in the group, and eventually I was quote unquote banished from the group. And um, so this now, this is over a decade. This is over 10-year time that this happened. But what this taught me is that they didn't want the truth. They wanted their fantasy. They didn't like the truth because it they didn't like Christianity. They were Christian haters. They did not like the truth of it. Um, and this really surprised me because I was always taught within those groups that like Christianity was the lie. And it was just this sort of like a veneer over this like neo-pagan stuff that survived for centuries. But that's not true. That is not true at all. So, especially within powwowing in Pennsylvania Dutch culture, is such a disservice to lie about its roots and such with. And so I really started to speak out against that and try to like stamp out the misinformation and the disinformation because all this was intentional. This was like, oh no, it's the original term, yeah, it says Jesus, but originally they were talking about Thor or Zeus or whatever. It was such a lie. And when confronted, they just got so defensive. And when I call it out, they just got so nasty. And it was just like this mob mentality attacking me, when really all I'm trying to do is preserve a tradition. And, you know, this is a culture that means so much to me because it's a culture I was born into. It was a culture that, my family is very much a part of historically and even in present day. So why wouldn't you want the truth of that? Why wouldn't you want to preserve your culture and be respectful to your ancestors? I don't care what anybody does in this day and age. Just don't lie. Don't try to rewrite history. You know what I mean? Just say what you're doing is new. It's inspired by history, sure, but it's not actually historical. So that's my story and that's my stance on that. Do I despise and hate those people? Only in the sense that they deny history and they try to rewrite it. And then when actual history is presented to them, they attack like as a this mob mentality. And I don't care for that at all. I mean, some of the people that I met during those years of training, I hope they're doing well. Some of them I genuinely, genuinely care about and miss. And some of them turned so nasty in the end that you've proven me correct in your in your behaviors and such with. So yeah, I get very passionate about this, but if you truly care about the culture that you come from and the history of our ancestors and stuff, you'll embrace the truth and just say what you're doing is new. It's modern. Certainly it's inspired by the original, but it's not the original. And that's okay. That's what helps preserve a culture is the truth. So that is my stance. That's where I'm at. And it is what it is. So not a big fan of the people who deny history and the people who lie about it. And yeah, I mean, I've been there. I when it comes to training with like neo-pagans and such, I trained with some of the best. I mean, and at the end of the day, I was left wanting. So um, there it is. I will no doubt get a lot of negativity from this, but I'm just trying to live my life and just trying to live my truth. And I'm a powwower, and I'm a Christian man. So I hope this helps explain some things to people, and to those who need to understand, you will. And God bless you. I love you. And we'll talk soon.